Arabia. In the Western imagination, a mysterious landscape. A harsh and seemingly empty place, set apart from the world at large. And yet, for thousands of years, a constant stream of migrants, traders and pilgrims has been drawn to this land. Arabia has welcomed and absorbed disparate peoples, beliefs and customs, and has seen the rise and fall of kingdoms that have since disappeared beneath the sands. It's only now that the rich heritage of this commercial and cultural crossroads is beginning to emerge. The secret history of Arabia is a colorful and complex narrative spanning 1 million years of human activity.
This is really an undiscovered treasure house.
As an archaeologist, I find myself diving in an ocean of knowledge.
I can only suspect that there's much, much more to be revealed.
In the present day, but traveling far back into the mists of time, a forgotten history is being rediscovered along the roads of Arabia. With 60% of the population under 30 years old, Saudi Arabia is a complex mix of conservative Islam, fast-paced development, and economic expansion. But as the country moves forward, there is a growing awareness that Arabia's history and cultural heritage should not be forgotten.
One of the biggest things that we found to be lacking is that people have not really been introduced properly to the tangible heritage of their country, its beautiful villages and its beautiful architecture. And that story has to be told.
Over the last 12 years, the Saudi Commission for Tourism and Antiquities has worked hard to connect Saudis to their own national story, with countless new tourism ventures, museums, and public awareness programs. At the same time, international links have been steadily increased, with the kingdom's archaeological sites opened up to over 20 foreign missions.
At this period in time, we have chosen to open up to rediscover our country, to discover the treasures of Arabia, and to put things in perspective as where this country stands in its place amongst world civilizations, and to confirm that this has indeed been throughout history the crossroads of civilization, and we are very proud to be so.
At Berlin's iconic Pergamon Museum, they queue for a new exhibition. This is not blockbuster impressionists or contemporary art, but the archaeology of Saudi Arabia. The exhibition has traveled across Europe, from Paris to Barcelona, St. Petersburg and Berlin, before moving to Washington, D.C.
They said, we never expect this. We didn't know about your culture. We didn't know that you have this deep history.
Most of the people do not know the past of Saudi Arabia.
It was also the discovery of something completely unknown, so really opening a new world that they knew nothing about.
We're the first venue in the States. I think it'll be a revelation.
I think people will be completely surprised and overwhelmed by the depth of the heritage of this country. And we are very confident that this exhibition in the US will do extremely well, mainly because of the very special relationship between the United States and Saudi Arabia.
But what exactly are these objects, and what do they reveal about the history of Arabia? The Grand Mosque in the holy Muslim city of Mecca can accommodate 1 million devotees within its walls. The focal point is the Kaaba, a simple cube-shaped structure towards which millions of Muslims direct their prayers 5 times a day. Over the centuries, it has been fitted with a succession of elaborately decorated doors. This photograph was taken in 1937, but the door was removed soon afterwards. Now on display at the exhibition, the inscriptions state that it was first fitted to the Kaaba in around 1636. It's an iconic symbol of Arabia's Islamic history. And for non-Muslims, it represents an unusual opportunity.
Anytime I come in with visitors and I show them all these objects from Mecca and Medina, I have to tell them this is the closest you can get to the holy cities, because if you're not a Muslim, you cannot travel, but now you can explore what you will never see again in your life.
In a storeroom at the National Museum in Riyadh, inscribed stone slabs offer clues to long-dead generations. Some of these are grave markers, and in particular tombstones that once graced an important cemetery in Mecca. The pilgrim's journey to Mecca could be long and arduous, and for many, reaching the sacred city fulfilled a lifelong ambition.
Every Muslim was eager to finish his life or to die in Mecca. And that's why the graveyard became very important.
The collection of tombstones in the exhibition dates from the 9th to the 16th centuries. Their inscriptions are invaluable to historians.
Sometimes the tomb has 2 memorial texts, indicating the full name of the person and the day that he died. So it's evidence. I have fallen prey to laments and grief. Destiny parted us from our beloved ones.
This quiet corner of Medina province is distinguished by an important inscription high up on the rock face. I, Zuhail, wrote this in the year 24 Hijriya.
النقش الذي عثرت عليه بالقرب من مدائن صالح في محافظة العلا يعود تاريخه إلى سنة 24 هجرية، عهد الخليفة الراشد عمر بن الخطاب الخليفة الثاني، وهو في الواقع أقدم نقش إسلامي مؤرخ، نقش على الصخر.
The words were written just 10 years after the death of the Prophet Muhammad. It's an enduring reminder of the importance of this particular pilgrim road.
Imagine the wealth of goods coming from Baghdad, from Syria, down to Mecca and Medina. Thousands of caravans of camels, mules, donkeys, traveling along these roads.
The remains of towns and cities along the routes have yielded countless artifacts from 13 centuries of Islam. A joint Saudi, Italian and French mission uncovers layers of history that stretch back thousands of years before the beginnings of Islam. Until recently, the period had been largely ignored in Saudi Arabia, but archaeological research is now revealing a series of forgotten trading networks and kingdoms.
Islam came in a period of time that Arabia was bustling really with interaction, with activities. And Islam really as a religion, as a great religion, did not come to a blank piece of the desert. It came to a very, very active part of the world, culturally, religiously, and economically.
The trade routes that crisscrossed Arabia in the 3,000 years before Islam were dominated by one commodity: incense.
There's no question that one of the most valuable commodities to the ancient world was incense. Everywhere from Iran, Iraq, Greece, Rome, all depended on having incense that came through the caravans of Arabia. This was the oil of its time, fueling the economy.
Travelling north out of Yemen, the incense caravans skirted the desert edge of the empty quarter until they reached the city of Kiryat al-Faw.
Actually, Kiryat al-Faw is not just a village, it's Paris of that time.
This prosperous Paris of Arabia was at its peak 2,000 years ago. Excavations have revealed a bewildering variety of items. From decorative pieces to luxurious household objects, nearly all of them with a Greco-Roman flavour. The camels are believed to have been children's toys. Colourful glass vessels confirm the long reach of the city's trading activities.
هذه الزجاجيات الحقيقة أنها من مصر وليست من عمل قرية الفاو، ولذلك أنا أعتقد أن هذه هدية أعطيت لشخصية من الشخصيات فحضرها إلى قرية الفاو.
Some scholars believe that Qaryat al-Faw had a port on Arabia's Gulf coast. According to Roman historians, it was called Gera. But its location is still uncertain. One possibility is the remote Al-Uqair region. Others have suggested Thaj, inland from the oil fields of Dammam. One thing is for sure, Thaj yielded a spectacular tomb find in 1998.
The tomb was covered with stones, slab stones, and they opened it, but they found something very precious inside they never expected. They found a coffin for a young girl. There was a necklace, bracelet, golden hand. She was covered in gold.
And the final detail, the enigmatic mask of a long-dead princess. At Al-Ula Oasis, the mud brick structures of the old town are a reminder of how people lived as recently as 30 years ago, and for centuries before that. Part of the old neighborhood has been restored for visitors. For a new generation of Saudis, it's a forgotten world.
هذه قرية تراثية كانت أجدادنا فيها وكنا البيوت كمان جنب بعض الجار بالجار نص كما هو ما يحتاج حنا ما نحتاج كل الجار بالجار.
Al-Ula is also the site of a far more ancient chapter of the Arabian story. Archaeologists believe that 2,000 years ago, the oasis sustained a city called Dedan. Most of it still buried beneath the palm groves. Dedan was the capital of the Lihyanites, a forgotten people who controlled the terrestrial route that connects South Arabia with Egypt.
اللحيانيين مملكة امتدت على كامل شمال وشمال غرب الجزيرة العربية، وعاشت في الفترة من القرن السادس قبل الميلاد إلى القرن الثاني قبل الميلاد، وعاصرت في فترة مع البطالمة في مصر، وكانت لها علاقات تجارية قوية مع وادي النيل، وتأثروا بكثير من معطيات الحضارة في وادي النيل.
In the distance, the black mouths of Lihyanite tombs open from the cliff face. Poignant reminders of another time and place. Here is written Hani, son of Wab-Il, begs forgiveness from the gods Nekra and Wad. And below the cliffs, a 6,000-gallon water tank that can be seen for miles around. A perfect cylinder carved by Lihyanite masons over 2,000 years ago. An archaeological team from King Saud University has recently uncovered an extensive temple structure here. White plaster flakes away from a stone altarpiece, thought to have once held water, oil, or blood. And in this part of the excavation, some of Dedan's most spectacular finds. A series of colossal human figures.
في الواقع تماثيل الملوك اللحيانيين اللي عثر عليها حتى الآن على 7 منها، هي تمثل ملوك لحيان. على أحدها وجدنا اسم أحد الملوك واسمه لذان.
Lihyan's royal past also had a powerful religious element. The nearby gorge of Akma was a sacred place for the Lihyanites.
عكمة أنا أحب دائما أسميها المكتبة اللحيانية. هي منطقة لابد أن كان لها نوع من المكانة الدينية والقداسة، لأنه جميع النقوش الموجودة فيها لها صفة دينية، عبارة عن تعابير وعبارات دينية. والجبال في عكمة مرقوشة بالكامل بالنقوش المنفذة بالخط اللحياني، ويبدو أن الناس يأتون إلى هذا المكان لسبب العبادة أو التبرك أو لأي سبب من الأسباب.
ذو غابت.
This is written for the god whose name is Do-Ra-Bat, to give the people blessings. For now, the rituals that took place here remain obscure, but the forgotten kingdom of Lihyan is slowly emerging from the shadows. Four and a half thousand years ago, the little-known Dilmun civilization plied its trade along the eastern coasts of Arabia.
دلمن أقدم مملكة عرفت في الجزيرة العربية شهدت عليها النصوص السومرية. بعد ذلك أصبحت مملكة لها باع طويل في الاقتصاد العالمي عبر نقل التوابل وعبر نقل المواد الخام الحديد والمعادن الأخرى.
Archaeologists believe that Dilmun traded with the Harappan civilization in today's Pakistan, as well as bringing copper from present-day Oman to Mesopotamia. Today's island of Tarut is an ancient Dilmun site. This statue was found there and dates from around 2500 BC. It's believed to have been sculpted in Tarut, but heavily influenced by Mesopotamian style. Even further back in time, Dr. Philip Drexler believes that Arabia's eastern coast was inhabited over several thousand years before Dilmun. Much of his fieldwork is based on stone artifacts, but dating them is notoriously difficult.
It's very hard to date them because you have only the artifacts themselves, and they seldom speak very clearly to you. So it's possible to study their shape and their technology, but similar shapes and technology appear during different periods in time.
This seemingly unremarkable stone is in fact a rough blade made of obsidian, a type of volcanic glass. Several pieces have been found here, but their place of origin came as a surprise.
We gave them for geochemical analysis to a specialist. This specialist was able to identify the sources of this obsidian in central Anatolia, so these pieces traveled a very long way towards the Central Gulf area.
in remote sites across the Arabian Peninsula. Standing stones and circular graves bear witness to tens of thousands of years of human activity. These sandstone grave markers could almost be the work of a 20th century sculptor, but they're more than 5,000 years old.
I just think this is the most remarkable object. There's an extraordinary economy of style, and all of that emphasizes the poignancy of the expression. The blankness of death, and yet with his head tilted to the right, you sense the passing of his life.
Across the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the modern world continues to coexist with the remnants of long-forgotten civilizations. Mankind has been in this region for 6 millennia and more. An extraordinary continuity across thousands of generations.
Every culture that comes through a nation or a part of the world has to leave its prints and has to imprint the culture of this nation in some way or another. And it is almost like living in an open museum. We have a long way to go in Saudi Arabia. This is really an undiscovered treasure house. We are almost at the beginning of discovering Arabia.